I'm Elise, and I lost 5 years of my life. Yeah, five. 5 years of 5 years of my life. Five. So, yeah, I wasn't in a coma. I wasn't kidnapped. I don't have amnesia. And I know it sucks, but this title really isn't clickbait. I mean, I kind of just wasn't there. All right, I know you're not supposed to trauma dump on the first date or the first vlog or whatever, but like, how are you supposed to care about where I'm going if you have no idea where I've been or what I've been through? I mean, isn't that sort of the whole point to these vlogs, anyways? So, you know, I'm hoping you just stick with me and, there's a happy ending. Well, maybe. Well, I mean, I can't exactly see into the future, but, spoilers, sweetie, still here. So, yeah. You're probably wondering what we're doing in bed. Well, this is kind of where I spent my last 5 years. It's where I'm most comfortable in my, Mr. Rogers cardigan and heavy weighted crochet blanket on me. It's soothing. So, long story short, I spent several years having all of the bits and pieces that I thought were me chipped away until the point when life decided that it was just going to smack me upside my head with my own femur, metaphorically, of course. And, I didn't have a foundation anymore in order to be able to handle something like that. And that's when I discovered that my spirit animal is the Tennessee fainting goat. Seriously. I had my own, Thanos snap, just gone. Disappeared. It was kind of scary. I was like this frozen little bunny, but kind of dead. You know those big pharma commercials, the ones where the person's lying in bed just numb with a dreary look on their face, and outside their family is playing ball with the dog and everybody's happy and excited in the sunlight, but the sad poor person is lying in their bed. Yeah, that was me. Except no dog and no family and, no sunshine, because Buffalo. Anyways, yeah, same, totally the same. That is what happened to me. I mean, I got up, I did the dishes, I did the grocery shopping, I did the laundry, I swept the floors, I took care of my mom, I took care of the cats, and that was it. That was my life. Just sleepwalking through existence. All of the moments in between those things, I was essentially paralyzed with depression and anxiety and undiagnosed ADHD. All of those activities that were just menial surface tasks just sapped all of the energy out of me. Like, that was the most executive functioning. That was the most executive functioning I could handle, kind of like today. And it got to the point where it would sometimes take hours to scold myself and give myself a pep talk, and usually both at the same time, just so that I could get out of bed and do it. And then the task would only be like 5 minutes long, but it took me hours to build up the energy to be able to handle it. Wow, that must have been like a 5-year vacation, right? No, it was pure hell. Like, most of you lost your ever-loving minds after only a few months of isolation. I'm going on 5 years of isolation, and 5 years before that of ever increasing isolation. I literally leave the house twice a month. Well, now more because of doctor's appointments, but yeah, not a vacation. It wasn't a conscious decision. It was a mental health crisis. I couldn't afford insurance, and I was slipping through the cracks of government assistance. By the 5th year, I was pretty much weeping every day, uncontrollably. It was kind of scary. Did you know that the human body can literally cry every day? Like all day? I thought that shit would dry up at some point, but no. The mind may be a dick, but the body is something miraculous. At the same time, I quit smoking, but then I gained a new addiction to sugar as a form of self-soothing. So I gained weight and diabetes. Yep, type 2. And although I gained weight, I lost muscle mass. And it's not to say that I actually got smaller. No, the muscles were literally dying. Painfully. It felt like I had a thunderstorm of lightning just zinging through my legs every single day. It was excruciating. And my feet were constantly killing me. And now I have neuropathy in my lower legs, and I've permanently lost a little bit of feeling there. You know, it's taken about 10 months that the shooting pains and the excruciating pains in my feet are mostly gone, but it's still numb, and it's never going to get better. My hair is thinner, my eyesight is weaker, and I have zenithal on one of my eyelids. All of these physical conditions were adding up to an extreme anxiety where I was starting to get attacked so frequently and so powerfully that I literally thought I was dying. I mean, it got to the point where I had packed a bag and it was left by my bedside table because I was scared that I was going to have to go to the hospital. So I had a go bag. And that then brought on the decision making of, do I actually go to the hospital and risk bankruptcy, or do I stay home and risk death? That's horrifying. I wouldn't wish that kind of depression and anxiety on my worst enemy. I mean, that kind of self-loathing and shame, it absolutely manifests in a physical condition, even though it's just considered like this mental health problem. It's not. I was slowly dying and I could feel it. The hardest part of all of this is that the years that this was going on, I just didn't exist. I was a caretaker to my mom and a maid to the house, but me and all of the things that I loved to do, they just were gone. All of my hobbies, all of my friends, all of the things that I loved and enjoyed in the music and entertainment, it just became impossible. Everything, life, was impossible. And it's not just that I didn't have the energy or the brain power or the willpower to do anything. It's that there was a big part of me, most of me, all of me, that just didn't exist. I was like a hollow shell, like just a skeleton of my own self. And how can I be creative, and how can I write or do the things that I want to do when I don't have a voice and I don't have a me? So, what changed? I mean, something had to change, right? Like, I couldn't just go out like a Greek tragedy or something. That would totally blow. Yeah. The first change that I made is what I was watching. I found that every time that I was low, I was watching the same sort of high emotional dramas. In other words, a lot of Grey's Anatomy. Like, a lot of Grey's Anatomy. And it just became wallowing at some point. I started watching, of all things, Sims 4 videos, people playing the Sims 4 game. And it was literally playful and happy and infectious. And then I discovered that they actually did that on Twitch. And I found myself watching the live streams. And eventually, I'm not saying that it happened overnight, but Sims 4 and the content creators for Sims 4 are what got me out, or made the first step out of my 5-year Freezer Bunny Frozen stage. Then, in January of 2024, all of the stress and anxiety and the poor management of my body caught up with me. And I had a Bell's palsy episode. So that is where I felt an extreme pain behind my right ear. And that lasted for, I don't know, several hours, probably half a day. And then the right side of my face just stopped working. There was no smile. There was no lift of eye. There was a little bit in the nose and a little bit in the mouth. So eating wasn't so weird and speaking wasn't horrible. But I thought I'd had a stroke. It was absolutely terrifying. And that was my turning point. I could let my face die with the rest of me, or I could fight for it. And I could fix it. Maybe, hopefully. I spent 2 months utterly alone with zero emotional support and zero medical support, doing face exercises 2 to 3 times a day. I did facial massages and hot compresses, and I worked on it for 2 months, and slowly my face came back, and so did my will to live, because that shit was rock bottom, like terrifyingly rock bottom. Now I'm moving more. I am walking and testing my blood sugar so that I can learn when and what and how I have spikes and when I have valleys, and I'm measuring things, and I'm working hard to fix my eating habits and combat my sugar addiction. But I swear to God, man, those Intamin's freaking softy donuts, those things are going to be here after a nuclear war. But I crave them to an illegal amount. Like, they're my drug. It's shameful. Shameful. Back to the program. I'm making efforts. I'm trying to connect. I'm trying to connect with the outside world, even if it is just therapy, doctor's appointments, and online communities, whether that be Twitch or YouTube streaming or Blue Sky or any of these things. I'm choosing activities that slowly make me healthier. I'm doing what I can to focus on interacting with life, and not just in a perfunctory way. I'm trying to do it with, I don't want to say intention. I don't, because that's like the catchphrase right now. But really, I am. I'm trying, and I'm giving myself grace to do the things that make me feel better about myself. I'm taking the steps to stitch together a new life. And it's not easy, and it's not fast. And to be frank, I'm still a bit of a hot mess. But I'm here, and I'm alive. And that's pretty awesome. but that doesn't really solve the problem of how I got here in the first place. During one of my therapy sessions, my doctor asked me, "So, who are you now? Aside from being a caretaker and cleaning the house and taking care of your mom and the cats, those are things that you do. Who do you want to be now?" I didn't know. We had a long talk about personal identity and self, and many of us define ourselves, or at least I did before all of this happened. We define ourselves by the things we do on a daily basis. So we're a parent, or a teacher, or a doctor, or a vegan, or a runner, or a dog person, or a cat person, or all of these little things that make up who you are based on how we interact with a daily life. But my daily life was nothing. So, everything that used to be me wasn't there anymore. I am not the me that I used to be. Who do I want to be? It was the first exciting thing to happen to me in years. I could make myself into whoever or whatever I want to be. Well, all right, within reason. I mean, seriously, like, I can't exactly become a billionaire princess of some interplanetary coalition of wonderful, fabulous paranormals. Like, that's not gonna happen. But, I can live my life a different way and be something new. That's kind of cool. This exploration of who am I now, who do I want to be, is a step out of the darkness. It is the first sort of infant toddler steps to building a new life. That's where I am right now, learning to walk again, and learning to breathe again, and learning to have life again. And that starts with finding out, who the hell am I? Straight away, I could put a pin in 2 of my me's. I am a reader and I am a writer. I can't not make up stories and characters and adventures, and I've been doing this for decades. It's my survival mode. It is what I do to keep myself sane. So I need to consume stories, and it sounds really weird for an ultra uber introvert, but I kind of want to share them too. That's weird. Which brings me to my next 2 me's, and that is, I am a huge science fiction fan and also a paranormal fan. I have always, from a very young age, identified with paranormal characters. Maybe it's that whole ADHD thing of feeling like you're other, you're different from other people. But my absolute favorite shows were things like The Addams Family and The Munsters and The Groovy Ghoulies. I loved The Groovy Ghoulies. I really did love The Groovy Ghoulies. They are like... I'm drawing a blank.
A few moments later.
Laugh-In. Nobody's going to remember Laugh-In. Nobody is going to remember Laugh-In. Why would I give a reference like Laugh-In? The Groovy Ghoulies is like an animated version of Laugh-In. It is, shut up, we're just going to do this. All right, sorry. This is, couldn't think. So, okay, moving on. I'm also huge super sci-fi fan. I have always had my head way up in the clouds, just dreaming about being on a starship with my little robot sidekick, and yeah, not much has changed. That's still me. I am also tragically stuck in the 80s and the 90s when it comes to my musical tastes. I am a Gen X Valley girl, and I am just in love with new wave and post-punk and goth and all of the amazing music that came out of the 80s and 90s. Every day, I pick a new song of the day and I post it to Blue Sky, and I also post it to a playlist that's on my YouTube channel. And, when I'm streaming on Twitch, I usually have 80s music, and my new work in progress book is also set in the 80s. So clearly, identity. And yeah, there's no debating. I'm a cat lady. I really am a cat lady. Like, okay, aside from the bed, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Desk is 14. I mean, arguably 14 beds just in this room alone for cats. Because I have two and I love them very much. They're my family. They are my companions. I'm a virtual shut-in. They are my co-workers. It's a codependent relationship, but we're living with it. We're dealing with it. It is what it is. It is part of my identity. I'm also a fiber arts girly. Yeah, I am. I love to crochet and embroider and do felt work and all of these things, macrame. Oh my God, I'd love to try some macrame. It's just, there is something very therapeutic. It appeals to the ADHD in me to just be able to work with my hands and not have to use any executive function or willpower at all. It's not something that I've done my whole life. I actually got to it as I was starting my depressive episodes, but it's really been a great, productive exercise in learning to complete things again and finish things. And, sometimes you just got to take the easy win and go for the low-hanging fruit, especially when you're down. Man, take the easy A. That's what I'm doing. But I need to be real with myself. I am actively surviving depression and anxiety every single day. And worse, I'm learning what it means to be an adult woman with ADHD, which is just crazy because even the doctors are still catching up with that one. I hope it will be easier the more I do it and the more that I practice and explore things, but it's a bit like a muscle and strength. It requires time, effort, and patience. Here's me being brutally honest. I can feel myself sliding backwards, and it kind of terrifies me. I can't go back to that. I cannot go back to that frozen state. I won't. But I canceled my first live stream today. I had been pushing aside and ignoring this growing anxiety that had been building since I first started streaming, and I just wasn't paying attention. And it got to the point where my brain just shut everything down. It's like, we're not doing this anymore. We've got to put up some boundaries. And I'm not talking about the type of anxiety that comes from like talking to a camera or talking to strangers. I mean, obviously there's some awkwardness with that, and obviously that's a little nerve-wracking, but it's doable, it's livable. No, I am talking about the type of anxiety that comes from a scheduled obligation. I know, sounds a little crazy, right? When I see something, an expectation of me on the calendar, I start to get this building tension that starts to feel kind of suffocating. It's a little bit like being stuck in this dark box, and I can't breathe and I can't move. And I'm just sort of stuck in my body and I can't do anything about it. And I know that it's wrong. I know that my brain's shutting things down because it thinks that I shouldn't be doing these things. I know that's wrong. I mean, there's nothing that's going to kill me about just talking to a camera or live streaming. That's absolutely ridiculous. But that is the fight, flight, freeze mode that I'm still struggling with. So, you know, I have to pay attention to what my brain is saying, because ignoring it for decades got me into a nervous breakdown. I need to try something different, something that takes who I am now into consideration. I need to reinforce what I want to be and who I want to be and the values that I want to hold. And I need to do away with some of the patterns and expectations that clearly don't work for me. And I don't know what that looks like right now. I'll be frank. I don't. But, you know, stay tuned. That's what I'm working on. I also need to remember that I am taking my first steps back into life. I mean, I've only been on this path for about 10 months now, and it feels like I haven't made much progress. But the reality is that I've been live streaming and actually working on projects and writing during those live streams for almost 3 months now. And of those streams, I've only canceled one for my weird brain issues. That's pretty good. I mean, okay, so I had to cancel another one for Wi-Fi issues because I live out in the middle of nowhere and the internet is shit out here. Shit, I tell you, just junk. So yeah, only canceling one's not bad. Yeah, I'm a hot mess and I'll never be perfect, but I'm working on my shit and at least I'm self-aware. So, you know, that might be like the meaning of life or something. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. Yeah. So, this is my journey. Rejoining the world and trying to figure out who the hell I am. And I'm kind of still a toddler in this thing. And seriously can make no promises. Like, I am not in a position to be telling you that I'm going to do anything. I am thoroughly unreliable right now. But, you know, although I can't say you're going to get a new video every single week, or I'm going to stream at the same time every single day, or even in the same category every single day, you know, I can't promise consistency right now. I can say that I am making an effort to do this thing, and I will try my very hardest to bring you along with me as I figure these things out. And that's all really any of us can ask of each other these days, right? So, until next time, bye. Bet you thought I was just going to leave and not show you this week's stitching project, right? No, here it is. This is my little freezer bunny. And it's reversible. Best part of it, oh my goodness, look how cute. Took me 15 hours. 15 freaking hours to do this thing. Yeah, I'm slow. Anyways, best part of it is it's magnetic. So we can just hang out with my Swedish moose on my plant where I write. So it can remind me of happy perky things like The Sims. It's a I'll put what it is on, yeah. Or I can hang out with the cute little death bunny. You just, you know, you gotta You gotta look on the brighter side. Or the dead side. Yeah. This isn't working. But you know what? I finished something. I did. I finished it. Just like I finished this video. Bye, everyone.